Spy Pond in Arlington, Mass, home of Upholstery on Broadway. Today we're doing a remake of one of our most popular videos, and it's an 8-way tie with a little bit of a twist, and that is a center spring. So let's go. So here we go. We have an antique side chair, Victorian, that has 5 springs. Somebody commented about what to do if you have a middle spring when you're doing an 8-way tie. Well, today I'm going to show you that. It's the main reason for this video. Got an odd spring just sitting in the middle. Sometimes the arrangement is such that you need 5 or an odd spring. So I'm going to show you how to do that. This chair, I just want to also tell you that I did a great job stripping this, and the refinisher did a fantastic job. But this is very old. So I'm going to avoid big tacks. I don't want to use a big tack, so I'm going to be using a pneumatic staple gun. For all those who don't have a pneumatic staple gun, if you have a chair like this, you would be forced to use 14-ounce tacks, and you can look back at some of our other videos to see how that's done. But for the sake of the frame of this chair, I'm going to take it easy, and usually the staple gun actually is easier on the wood. I'm going to show you how to tie 8-way tie with the staple gun. So the first thing we're going to do is we have to have jute twine. I don't like the nylon twine. If you've seen my other videos, I like to use natural materials as much as possible. Although there are cases where you don't need, you can use synthetic, but not in this case because this is a ruby twine. This is specifically made for spring tying and tested over time as the greatest product. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a visual about, I'm going to tie the 2 end ones first. I'm going to leave that middle one for now. I'm going to tie the 2 and 2. What I'm going to do is show you this. It's about 14 or 15 inches or so. That doesn't have to be perfect. That's your return twine. I'm going to take this and go like this. This is for one stapling, right? I'm going to staple this to the back. Use my leaky hose. I'm too lazy right now to fix it. Okay, so I have 2 twines coming this way, one long, one short. Okay, I'm going to leave the little one alone for a minute. I'm going to do this, the large one, or the long one. I'm going to come up to the second run from the top. I'm just going to loop it. You've seen my other videos. It's not. I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. If you want to reference back to my other videos for the full video about that. This we're just trying to show you a 5 spring tie. Okay, so this gets adjusted back, and then we tie this so that it's standing straight up. Okay, we're going to come to the other side of the spring, loop it, and then knot it. And then we're going to come to the top of the other one, and you know, if you've seen my other videos, again, you see that I tell people to slant it and then work it back so it's tight with the knot in it. Because eventually you're going to tie this you're going to staple this whole thing down. Okay. And you're going to pull it tight. So I'm coming down to the second rung here to finish. I'm just looping, and then I'm tying. That middle spring really wants to get in the way, doesn't it? Take care of that in a minute. Pull that this way. Okay, now I'm going to pull the whole thing, and I am going to staple this. I'm going to put about 3 staples from the long staple, a 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to come over and get a couple more staples on the small twine. Okay, let's go to the next one. Alrighty. Look at, I automatically did that. That's what tacks, as you see in the other videos. So we don't need to do that. Staples. So. People always think, you know, and I talked about this in the other videos, that it's about compression. It's not that at all. The spring, once it's tied, what determines compression is the thickness of the gauge of the spring and the height of the spring. You're not doing this. A lot of people think that's what you do. You don't. You're just tying, as I showed in the other videos, tie, tie, tie. Then when you get down here, when you pull it, that all the springs are standing straight up. That's the goal, pretty much. Okay, you see. Tilt that, bring it back. think I've taught over 1,000 people how to upholster, and I think spring tying can be very perplexing for people. But I think my method is an old method. I think it's a pretty good method for beginners. So I'm going to pull this, staple this. Okay, I'm going to show you how to finish this off now. This small twine, what the small twine is for is you're going to come up like this. You're going to try to get these two together. So you're starting to build, that act right there is you're starting to crown the seat, okay? That's the first act of crowning the seat, and this is a crown seat, Victorian side chair. Some people call it, it's not really a classic balloon seat. The French call it a balloon seat. These would be really big springs if that was the case. That's a very difficult spring to tie. That's a whole different story. So I'm going to come and I'm going to continuous loops. And then at the bottom, this is important, we want to get a knot at the bottom so as to protect these two twines that are coming up, right? And I'll give it a little pull. I'm going to get one more staple in there. Of course, you do this with tacks. You had a good thing to work, a good rail to work. Now, people might say, well, why doesn't he replace the rails? I think that might create more damage in this. This piece here is not in that position where I have to replace the rails. But, you know, it's a delicate piece, and that tack work is heavy tack work. You have to use your judgment out there, people. I've given you two options on how to do something, and you have to use your own judgment as an upholsterer too. So I'm going to try to do the back ones. See that? I'm just going to tie these two together. I'm going to leave that down there. I'll get that in a minute. Get to the middle spring mystery that people have been commenting on. How do you do one with the middle spring? How do you tie a middle spring? Okay, I'm just going to tie this down. This one doesn't really need that knot, that extra knot near here. The fronts are essential to do that. The sides maybe not so much either. Just the fronts on this piece. Again, that's a judgment call. I know that most of the stress is going to be in the front of the seat on this. So I'm going to show you again how to do this. This kind of comes down a little bit, starts the crown. You'll notice little inconsistencies like this, but as you tie the 8-way tie, all those inconsistencies come out, hopefully, and you get a nice smooth crown seat, even before you do all your stuffing. Okay, I got my knot there, I pull down, staple, and that's done. Okay, now the middle spring, okay? You still cut it, by the way, you measure over the top 1, 2, and 3. A little bit more, some people do 3.5. Okay, so now the only difference in the middle spring is that you have a longer return twine, okay? That's it, really. So instead of 16, 17 inches, you might want 22 inches, okay? It's 22 inches. So there I go again with the tags, but just gonna go like this. Okay, so that return twine is going to be long enough to come back, but for now this is interesting. So again, it's a lot of common sense in upholstery. You know, the reason I started the second rung near the edges is because of leverage purposes. Okay, the middle spring sits inside. You can go up to the top rung. You don't have to go to the second rung. It's going to be a nice, that's going to be a nice smooth transition going to the top because it's far enough from the rails. So it's all about the angle of the twine. So you can understand that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop. I like tying springs sometimes. Your mind kind of wanders if you get good at it, and you can tie springs all day. Good way to pass the day. Okay, so again, the spring needs to be tilted back, pulled tight this way, and then knotted. Okay. Again, reference my other videos, especially the U-cover ottoman video. That shows a lot of this. It breaks it down really well. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull this. People say, how tight? As tight as you can. If you've got those knots right, you could pull it tight and the spring won't tilt. Okay, it's all about gauging where that knot goes. Couple of staples here. So this is big enough or long enough to come this way, see? So that's the difference with one spring, really. And then you could do the continuous in the front here, where you do the continuous loops to get it down to here, to get this important knot down here. Optional is knotting all the way around. You could do that. if you want, if you feel like it's going to get more use. This little side chair is not going to get a tremendous amount of use. I wouldn't advise people to do that. It's a very delicate chair. Okay, I'm going to do the back one too. Okay, I'm just going to knot this over. Any knot, you know, people say, oh, what type of knot? Any knot that will hold this twine. Some people don't even knot it, they just cross over. So I'm not picky about that. It's the final product what we want, which is all the springs tied 8-way, and they're all working independently, then they're straight up, pretty much, right? And the size spring is important, but oftentimes I reuse springs. Getting new springs is a problem these days because new springs don't have the same compression. They're not as well made. There's nothing wrong with it. I can count on one hand how many springs I've actually had to replace. Springs, especially the old springs, and sometimes copper springs, if you can believe it. As a matter of fact, I think these are copper. Some of these are copper springs. Yeah, they are copper springs. So they last forever, folks. You know, there's no reason to use new ones. Unless you feel like one is, you know, one's got a problem. It's like, you could replace it. You can get springs. They're cheap. And no, I don't advise getting rid of the springs and putting foam in here. This is a traditional chair. Traditional method, spring and horsehair is what I would recommend, but I don't recommend slapping a piece of foam in there. It's just not the right way to do it. Okay, now I'm going to do the cross twines. Okay, so I did the side to side, same as the front to back. Okay, now I want to show you to finish up with the 8-way, and you only have to measure. I'm going to do the nice thing about a 5 spring is that you can do the X first. Okay, after you do the X, the middle spring has an 8-way tie. You'll see in a minute. The other thing too about the backup twines, I call them, or the remaining 4 twines, is that you can only you don't need a return twine back. This is just a support twine, and it's used to fill in other holes. So I'll show you. So you just want to do 2 times the width. Okay, I'm going to cut this. And watch this, I'm only going to get a little tail section, a little tail over here, little tail like this. And I'm just going to cross it up. I'm just going to cross over between that staple. Be careful, you guys, when you're in. These staples hurt when they go in your finger, trust me. I hate when that happens. It's an old Saturday Night Live skit used to say. So now I'm going to come to the top. I'm going to get this. You don't have to come to the second row. And then, you know, the rule is if you're crossing twine, don't. Get a little knot in there. Or crossover, better yet. Crossover. A crossover is you don't tie it, you don't create bulk. So I'll show you. On these ones here, you can cross like this. Just cross over like this. You could tie it, whatever you guys want to do. There's no right or wrong, I think, with the remaining twines. But see how fast you can do it if you just cross over and under. See that? Yeah. Some people just do the cross on the other twines too. I always like to get knots at least on the first 4. You know, we used to have arguments when we were training. Everybody thought they had the best spring method, but I think ultimately, if you come to the same conclusion and it looks good, I mean, the conclusion is that you could take this chair, split it in half, and it'd be symmetrical. Crown is perfect on both sides. That's what you're looking for here to try to do. I don't care, you know, how you tie the knots as long as that comes out that way. Okay, so look, I'm just going to give this a little pull, cross this over. Okay. Okay, the middle one is almost done. 1, 2, right? Try to get in here in front of the camera. Okay. When you have 2 rungs that are close together like this, just tie them together. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm going to cut through here. Through here. You're putting some tension on this twine, by the way, as you go along. But I guess what you're doing too is creating a spider web. You know, spider webs are the strongest building in nature, I guess. So I'm just going to cross this over. And pull. And see, I have a missing piece of rail here, so that's another reason why I wanted to staple. Okay, so our middle spring has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. An 8-way tie. The middle one's done. So on the ends, we're just going to do a little one here, a little one here, a little one here, a little one here, and we are done, because the rest are 6-way tied at this point. Okay, so I'm just going to speed through that process. So I'm going to show you a little trick. Staple guns are great. So that's 2, 3, 4. I'm in production mode now. So I have all 4 twines in my hand. I'm going to do this one back here. This one's going to come this way. This one's going to come this way. And the last one's going to come this way. And I'll focus in on this one for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to come up. It's going to loop it. This finishes this spring. Pull it tight. Come up. Sometimes small hands are useful. Sometimes the big hands, not so. Cross over. Now these chairs were made at a time when the average height, I think, for a male was 5'2". So females, I think, were at least 5 foot. And you can see it's a very small chair. Today they make chairs for giants. I guess nutrition is the reason. So I like this because I haven't put one scratch. I like using the staple gun. I haven't put one scratch in any of these rails. And like I said, it's just been refinished, so I have to be careful. So I missed one. Did you see that? I made a mistake, you guys. That can be my signature, my calling card. 100 years from now, somebody will take this apart and say, oh, that's a Kevin. I can tell because he always used to leave the right spring undone in the middle. You can see I'm not worried about that. It's really not going to affect anything, really. Because the main thing you do in an 8-way tie is you're filling in these gaps, right? So there you go, guys. I'm going to just trim these up, these twines a little bit, like show you, I'll trim this up. And then I'm going to put some burlap on this and I'm ready for my horsehair. Thanks once again for tuning in.
I've fallen and I can get up because I had all these cushions at the bottom of the stairs. See you again.